I'm Jim. I work for Scanning Pens. I have done now for 4 years. And I look after the secondary sector for the UK and Ireland, and I also look at special education schools as well. A little bit of background about myself. So I'm dyslexic. So it's been a really great, kind of a nice story from when I was diagnosed at 14 with dyslexia. In my examinations, going up to university and getting my degree, and now being able to work for Scanning Pens and empower people about our technology and talk about some of the experiences that I've had, but also talk about how our technology can help students with reading difficulties. So firstly, we'll move on to the agenda and what we'll be going through. So Julie, I'll pass over to you for the agenda. And then what we'll do is we'll go through all the pens and some of the training with you guys. Thank you.
Thank you. So we'll go through the introduction. We've told you about us. We're essentially your team for secondary. The overview for the CPD, we will get to. It's 3 webinar sessions for which I can then send out to you a certificate of attendance explaining what it is that you've actually learnt while you've spent some time with me, and that is how to implement the use of scanning pens in your schools. The next thing we're going to talk about is the reader pen, which is this pen here. It's the white one, and we're going to be thinking specifically about COVID and how we can use this pen to support both at home and school and in between. The exam pen, which I think will be relevant to a number of you as well, if you are thinking about providing centre assessed assessments over the next month or so, you might want to do that with an exam pen. And so we can tell you what the regulations are around that for the JCQ and how you can build your evidence bank. We'll be talking about the reader pen and giving you a demonstration so that you've had the cook's tour and you know exactly what it does. And then we will be looking at some case studies and supporting evidence for you. So by the time we get to the end of this session, you should have an excellent overview of the product, which is the scanning pens, the different ones, how they can support your students in school, and what the training offer we can make to you is. Jim. Okay, I'll go on and do
Sorry,
that.
Yeah.
Me. Righto. So introductory session is where we're at now. If you would like to join me for session 2 and 3, and I hope you will, these are sessions that are going to do a much deeper dive in how to implement the scanning pen in your school. So we know what it's like when we get a new piece of technology as teachers. If we're really good, it will get used. We will train our staff, we'll train the kids, and then there will be a successful intervention with impact. That's what we're aiming for. Then we evidence that impact and we make sure that we tell the senior management team, because that very often affects our budgets and it affects our performance and how people look at us as teachers and all of those things. So the second session is about how to do that job of implementation very successfully, really just how to make a case study out of your own school, how to baseline, how to create the evidence of how much progress is being made by your learners and which learners the pen is best at supporting. We'll also dive deeper into access arrangements. The third session, again, there are webinars just like this one, is about independent learning. That is very much towards the SENCO, the teaching support person who might be involved with training a student how to use the pen, or providing literacy support as a multisensory or multimodal kind of learning opportunity, of which the scanning pen can fit into that way of working. So it's much more about the specialist approach. However, if you happen to be in a senior management team and you have an interest in how you would use a scanning pen as a sort of a blended tool to be a bridge between text and the computers, because the pen will pick up text and put it where a cursor is flashing on a screen, that might be a session that you would be interested in as well, how you can bridge from paper to screen, and that can be very, very helpful for many learners. So those are the 3 sessions. Over to you, Jim.
Thanks, Julia. And the first kind of slide that we wanted to go into is kind of give you a bit of an idea on how you can actually use the pens in the current situation that we face. So obviously, as you know, and you can see from the pictures below, because I know a lot of you have the pens and most of you may have the exam reader, some of you may have the reader pen. What's great about the pens is it can support this social distance learning, and at the moment can help support from home as well. What's great about the pens is you can sit there independently, confidently, with your headphones plugged in, scanning the printed resources that you have available to you. And that's what makes a pen so great, is that you can use this without a Wi-Fi, without a Bluetooth connection. You can sit there using the pen by yourself, and it's giving you that great confidence to use them. Another great thing is that the pen can be used, as I said earlier, for the blended learning Julie's already mentioned. So this more home support for reading, and the digital connectivity, so you're not requiring any Wi-Fi. It just runs off its portable battery. And what I will do is go into more detail about all of the features and benefits of all of the pens. And we do have a really fantastic study. So just at the bottom of this page there, you can see the link, and we will be sending out these slides to you. This is a study that was done by the University of Limerick, and basically what it's showing is how they actually use the exam pen. I know examinations aren't on for the summer, but I know we'll be doing kind of in-class assessments. But Limerick actually used the exam readers, and you can actually see how effectively they use them to their advantage, basically. So what I wanted to do is go through all of the different pens, and some of these pens you've probably never seen before or know of. So firstly, I want to just give you a brief on what they are, what the differences is, and then I'll go into them in more detail. So you've got the first pen, which is the white reader pen. So the reader pen is the pen what I call basically the research pen. And the reader pen is probably the most useful pen for the home support, especially for the sixth form, college, university students as well. The reader pen has all of the features on it. So all of the pens do the same thing, which is have the text reader function, this simultaneously highlighting. So you're scanning the printed text and then you're hearing it aloud back to you with your headphones plugged in. So they all do this feature, except for they all have different features on them that makes it different. So what does the reader pen have on it? So it has a dictionary on it, it has a dictaphone, and it has storage. And I'll go into more detail how these features work later on in the presentation. And the main difference between the reader pen and the exam reader, because I know a lot of you probably have the exam reader, is that the exam reader is specifically designed for examinations only. So this was designed so that in mind that it's that orange bright color. So when you're in the exam hall, you can actually see it. Yeah, there we go. So Julie's just showing you what the orange exam reader is. Nice bright orange color that invigilators would normally go around and see that you're using it in exams. And it's specifically designed so it's got all of the features wiped off. So you don't have a dictionary, you don't have storage, and you don't have the voice recorder on the exam reader. So it just has everything else wiped. The next pen to my right is the Lingo Pen. So what is the Lingo Pen? The Lingo Pen is actually our translator tool. So basically, this will translate different languages for you. It has 8 inbuilt languages on there. It has French, Italian, German, Spanish, Arabic, Chinese, and Russian. So what it will do is scan something in English, and it will then translate to French for you, and it will do it vice versa, so French back into English as well. And what's great about the Lingo Pen, it actually has a dictionary on there, so it will give you the translations in the different dictionaries for you as well. So that's a fantastic tool that potentially could be used for EAL students to access the curriculum from home. So that's another tool that could potentially be used. So please feel free, if you have any questions, we'd be happy to answer them around the Lingo Pen. And you can potentially look at a 30-day trial on using the Lingo Pen. The next pen next to us is right on the end is the Connect Pen. So the Connect Pen is basically the device that you use to connect to a computer, a laptop, or your phone. So it would require Bluetooth to use this device. And what you do is you scan over off the Connect Pen, and then this will appear on the Connect app. So you would need to download the app onto your iPad or computer. And as Julia mentioned, it's creating this gap from that paper to that page onto that computer screen and that connectivity. But again, you would require Bluetooth to use this. And then in this app, you can then translate into the different languages, which I explained earlier that they have on the Lingo Pen. And you can also, if you want to, you can use your Wi-Fi to connect to Google Translate and translate into any language. But again, you would require Wi-Fi and Bluetooth to use this device. So that's just a brief introduction into all of our different pens that we have available. What I wanted to do is just explain some of the key features and then go into them in more detail. So what do we mean by this mid-text? So it's very easy to use. There's no setup required, and they can just get on with it in minutes. It's a very simple plug-in and play device to use. Once you've had a little bit of training, a little bit of practice with the pen, it's quite easy. The students will pick it up very easy to use as well. And we have some fantastic resources that Julie has kindly created. Really helps aid with when you're using the pens and giving you really good introduction into how the pens work. So we have lots of hints and tips, which I'll go through later on. And what's great about the pen is it has a built-in battery. So it just runs like your mobile phone, an ion battery, and it takes 2 to 3 hours to charge, and you get 8 hours battery life with it. So if you are thinking about getting a trial of the pen, I know most of you already have a pen, you just plug it in with the USB cable into your laptop or computer, and it'll only take 2 to 3 hours to charge. Another great thing is that if you plug it into a mains plug, you can actually get a little bit quicker charging time. So if you do have a plug adapter, you can plug it in and it will charge up the pen for you. And what I find great about the pen, and I have used the pen myself a couple of times, is it is quite distraction free. I do find if I have something on my laptop, and if I refer back to my university days as well, when I was using programs on my computer to do well, I'm trying to think of what it is now, assignments, I'd find myself looking at the sports, so checking up the sports update, looking at the scores, and I'd find myself very distracted and not engaging in what I should be doing, really. And that's where the pen's great for learning and keeping you engaged in the work, because you can't access Wi-Fi, you can't access Bluetooth. So the pen is great for that, and it really helps support your reading as well. And what's great is if you are in the classroom using the pen, because you've got them headphones plugged in, other students won't be distracted by the pen either. So it would just be yourself fully immersed in the text and everything that you're reading back.
Jim, on Radio 4, I was listening to briefly this morning. Yeah. They were talking about education and the gap for so many students who don't have broadband, and how it's as essential as running water in the home now, while we're experiencing lockdown. The great thing here, I think, the advantage is that you can send a reader pen home with a student and they haven't got to be dependent on internet in order to be able to get reading support. You might be, as a teacher at the moment, sending home packets of reading for some students who don't have that internet access, possibly. You might know that there's a difficulty at home, but you would know if you'd sent a reader pen home that reading support would be happening regardless of what other technology was available in the home.
Absolutely. And yeah, it's really important, really, and really, really exciting. So, Julia, would you mind talking about the 2 hours screen?
2 hours screen time limit.
Yes, it's really interesting, I find.
Yeah, a piece of research that's come out of the American Heart Foundation. It was 2018, and they looked at the health and well-being of young people. Pretty well came to the conclusion that you and I know it. Students will be sedentary, children will be sedentary if we don't lever them up and get them to be active. They will sit in front of screens, but this is really not very healthy at all. And considering that something like 85% of young people now have smartphones, I think I've read that statistic somewhere. Sorry, 83% own a smartphone. Is one of the internetmatters.org bits of data, and 99% of them spending 20.5 hours a week online, and 9 out of 10 students watching YouTube from this particular piece of data that I looked at. But what that's telling us is that not good for heart health. We've got very sedentary young people, and actually being able to read a book is not only really beneficial because you're making that cultural exploration and it's benefiting your mind and your well-being in a totally different way to screen time, because you are active learning rather than passive learning, but actually it's about heart health too. So yeah, I'm a great advocate of reading and getting people back to text. And the nice thing really about getting students involved with text and mid-tech assistive technology is that it has this simultaneous highlighting. Pretty well all mid-tech strategies do. So if you are working with students on a program on the computer, maybe Google is reading and highlighting at the same time, or text help is, or whatever strategy you use on a computer, what's happening is that you are getting this simultaneous reading and listening, and that actually helps students to recognize those words, build the comprehension and build the vocabulary. You get the recognition. So yes, we can do that with screen time, but it's great to be able to do that with printed text and with books and build in that level of support, so that when you're reading your text-based exams, you're already into the swing of using the tool in advance of that. The benefits are great because you are going to move about 2 levels from where you were fairly quickly. There's some fantastic research. I would encourage you to look up John Hick's most recent blog about some research that was done with the C-Pen reader pen, just means a reader pen, in Malta. And in this Maltese study that was conducted, it became clear, and it's evidenced, that reading accuracy from this business of simultaneous highlighting was improving by 13 months over an 8-week period. Real rapid gains in progress. Same with comprehension, rapid gain in comprehension. And that's because the business of simultaneous audio and highlighting, we're multimodal beings, Jim. You know, we like to have our learning supported in multisensory, multimodal ways. It's really effective. And it improves listening skills too. And if there's one thing I know about young people, it's that they need to improve their listening skills all the time. Just throw that in there. Over to you, Jim, for dig a hole.
Thanks, Julian. It's really important, and it's been great that we've had Julia on board, who can really give her input, her experiences and knowledge on these kind of things as well. So thanks, Julia, for giving that input to everyone. So the next thing I wanted to discuss is actually go into the main features of the reader pen, and then we'll move on to the features of the exam reader. And again, if any of you do have any questions, please feel free to type it into the chat box, and we'll do our best to answer it. So firstly, what is the main feature? The main feature of the pen is the text reader feature. So this is the feature that allows you to scan over the printed text and read aloud to you. So as simple as it is, but when you start up the pen, you actually need to go and click.
I've lost your audio, Jim.
Reader, and as long as that cursor's flashing, it'll then start reading back to you. But within the text reader, there's loads of different settings you can use to personalize it to that student's individual learning. So this just helps them and gains them a bit of an advantage and helps them out. So actually in the text reader, there's can everyone hear me okay?
Your sound is cutting in and out, Jim. I'm not quite sure what's going on with your headset, maybe. It's when you bob backwards and forwards you cut out. You just need to
is it just when I'm moving from left to right?
Yeah,
Can you hear me now?
It's when you get excited and you move
It's when
around.
I get excited and start talking. Sorry, guys, I'm getting excited. So within the text reader setting, there's actually things you can personalize for that student and help them out. This is quite hard to stay still with my head now. So within the text reader settings, you can actually change, or you can actually have it really quick. Can people still hear me okay?
Cut out again briefly.
Sound's gone, has it?
It's intermittent. You're cutting in and out. Is it possible to work without your headset and go via the speaker on your laptop, do you think, Jim? So while Jim's just sorting that out, I will... Okay, give it a go. Have a sound check. I'll just mention...
Julie, if you want to carry on just for a second, just while I sort this.
You're sounding loud and proud there, Jim, just so you know. So, yeah, the great thing about the pen is that when you go for it straight away, there is a wizard that will help you set it up for a student. So when you put the pen into their hands, the pen will guide you through a set of setups, incredibly helpful in the settings. One of the best things I think that we put onto the pen, because if you've got a student who's left-handed, it will immediately go through those prompts for languages, for left hand, right hand, and for volume control and so on. So the settings within that menu gives you a lot of controllability, and teachers want to be able to control the reading pen. What they want to be able to do is to make it stop at a word, at a sentence, and you can do that by programming into the pen where you want it to stop speaking. So for some students who are perhaps a little bit more fluid and fluent, you'll find that perhaps just stopping at the word level is the best option for those learners. You don't want them reading the whole of the book because they are capable of reading the rest of the text. If you had a weaker reader who needed more support, you might want to set it onto an append mode, and that means that you can keep scanning, and the pen will store in its memory everything that the student scans. Could be a paragraph, and then you click to play and it will play the entire paragraph back. That might be more appropriate for some of your learners. And there is another setting which is punctuation pause, and that's really great for those students who just need that thinking time. So if you are reading an English text and you really want to make sure that they have received the point of that sentence, and you need them to then give you some feedback, it does create that natural stop. And some students need that pause for thinking, for comprehension, especially if speed of processing is a little bit slow.
Now. I think I'm back now. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, sounds good.
Is that better? Brilliant. Thanks, Julia. Where did we get to? Text reader, was it still?
Yes, I just whooshed along and was talking about the settings. So definitely talk about text reader.
Yeah, fantastic. So Julie's gone through most of the settings within the text reader. I heard she spoke about left and right-handed, so it's fantastic that we've got that setting added on there. And again, in left-handed, they can actually scan backwards, so you can scan left to right, right to left. You will find that someone with left-handed would actually find that naturally easier for them. So it's well worth looking at it. Some of you who've only recently had the trial or purchased the pen, a great feature that's on the pen. So as soon as you actually start it up, it goes straight into a wizard, setup wizard. So all of these settings that I'm explaining to you today, it will actually take you through each of these settings for you, so you can actually have a look how they all work, and you'll be able to set them straight away. So when you give the pen to the student, it'll be set up and ready for them. And it will keep them personalized settings. So all of the text reader features we explained saved on the pen. So when you start up the pen, just remember, if you are passing the pen to someone who's right-handed and it's in left-handed mode, it will read in gobbledygook, so it will read it upside down. So just remember to change the settings if you are passing the pen around, but I imagine you probably wouldn't due to the current situation and sharing that round. So moving on from the text reader, the next feature is the dictionary mode. So the dictionary mode is as simple as it says. It is a dictionary on there. But what's great about the dictionary mode is you can use it from the text reader feature. So if you do find a word, you can click on the menu and then click up dictionary lookups. It will literally look up the word straight away for you. Or you can just go into the menu, click the dictionary mode, and what it will do is it will scan the word. So it will read the word to you, and then it will read the definition back out aloud to you. And what's great about that is you're actually seeing that word, seeing that definition on the screen and having it read aloud back to you. So you can have a look at it as many times as you like. You can hear it as many times as you like as well. What's great about the dictionary is you can actually toggle between two different dictionaries. And what you will find is the Oxford Primary Dictionary might be a suitable dictionary for that student. Even myself, because I've used the Collins Dictionary, I found it quite long-winded and the definition's a bit too far, a bit too much for me, especially if I just want a quick, simple definition. Whereas with the Oxford Primary Dictionary, it just gives you that quick definition straight away and you understand what that word means.
Well, when it's all about comprehension, Jim, you don't need all of that information. If it was a medical, if you were doing something in GCSE
engineering, maybe
or engineering,
medical, yeah,
then you might want to switch to the dictionary. Or if you came across a word and it wasn't in the OPD, you'd want to switch it to the Collins, just to explore that word, perhaps if you were developing new language. However, our learners tend to need the support from the Oxford Primary Dictionary, and we know that if you are reading a text, and if you're anything sort of above 8.5 words that you can't understand within that paragraph, you're going to lose comprehension. And if you lose comprehension, you're going to lose the will to read, because it's going to be too difficult to decode. So the job of the pen is to do that bit of immediate decoding for the student, so they haven't got to put up their hand and wait for a teacher to come and explain, or they haven't got to go and Google the word or do anything like that. If you scan the word, very often for a dyslexic learner, it can be a question of just hearing it that helps decoding. Like words like Alsatian or Gloucester, you know, that we have so many words in the English language that are just really horrible to read. And then when you say it to the student, they'll go, oh yeah, Alsatian, okay, fine. And they know what it is. So sometimes it's just that bit of immediate decoding that gives access to that piece of reading at that point in time.
Thanks, Julia. And what else is great in the dictionary mode is if you go back out of the dictionary mode, click into the settings on there, you can actually click on history. Within the history, you can actually see all of the words that you've recently scanned. And I don't know the students that you work with, but I know from my own experiences, I would forget some of the words that I've been scanning and some of the definitions. And I'd want to re-look at them and see which words I've scanned. And you could also use this as a potential activity with that student as well. So you can actually go back, look through each of the words that you've scanned and go back in and look at the definition again. So this could be great for a nice activity, and it can be great for that student who's working with their parent and working with the teacher.
It's a good homeschool learning activity, that one. Because if you've worked on a specific piece of vocabulary, and then you want to set for homework understanding that vocabulary, it's all in the pen. Student has got to write it down, haven't got to make a note, and access to the definition is all in the pen too. Yeah. And then parents can see by scrolling through the pen what those keywords were, so they can support as well. It's quite a useful tool.
Absolutely, and the pen will store this automatically, so you wouldn't need to do this. So as soon as you scan that word, you back out with it, it's already saved on the pen, and you can go back in and delete these words from the history mode as well, so there's no problem removing the words that you've scanned as well. So that really kindly moves us on to the next feature, which is scan to file. So scan to file is basically accessing the storage mode of the pen. So it's got 8 GB storage on there. The pen acts just like a USB pen, so you don't need to install any drivers, any software onto your computer. So the USB cable that you use to charge with the pen, you would use this USB cable to plug it into your computer or laptop. So as Julia was mentioning earlier, it's creating this bridge between that text-based into the computer. So you're creating that bridge of getting that text onto that computer screen for you. So in the scan to file, you can save things on the pen and then listen back to it later on, or you can actually access the documents that you've scanned and then upload them onto your computer. And what's great about this is you're actually getting that printed text straight onto that computer screen that you can then use and then send these documents away, or you can manipulate it on the computer with the different softwares that are available to them. So it's just a fantastic feature that's helping you to really create that bridge between that text-based resources into the computer-based resources. And finally, the next feature is the recorder. So the recorder is basically a simplified dictaphone, which you can use to record your own voice clips, record the lessons, even use it to record some motivation. So if you are feeling down in the day and you just want to record some motivation just to help you along in the day, the recorder's there, and it will save it as an MP4 or WAV file, which you can then upload onto the computer, or you can keep it saved onto the pen. So the dictaphone recorder feature is a great feature that can be used for lessons, for activities, and Julie has created some more resources around the dictaphone feature as well. And finally, as I've explained, mostly what is the pen doing? It's creating that independence, it's creating that confidence. Julie has explained about the word pause, about the pen being discreet. The pen's always continuously being updated. So I'll type into the chat that you just need to go to readerpen.co.uk and look at the recent updates, and you can update your exam reader as well. And we've got fantastic case studies, research, and videos online. So what I'll do next is pass over to Julia, who will play the great demonstration video that she's done, which shows you how the pen's used, so you can actually see the pen being scanned and how you access all of these different features that we've explained today.
Thank you. I'm going to hide.
I'm just turning on the pen now with the red button. That's the power on button, and it takes just a few seconds to turn on. Grip the pen by the nib and you'll want to scan with it at 75-degree angle. Well, let me show you these pens. The white one is the reader pen, the exam reader is the orange one, and the brown is the Lingo Pen. That's a translator. But I'm going to demonstrate the reader pen. When you turn on the reader pen, the first thing you'll see in the menu is the text reader. There's also dictionary, scan to file, voice recorder, and settings. If I showed the exam reader pen, the difference is that it reads 12 different languages. That means it can support a lot of people when they're reading and taking tests. A significant difference with the orange exam pen is that it has a text reader and settings. No storage, because they're designed to be locked down for examinations. Imagine 100 students in an exam hall, all with different learning needs. This is a simple device that can read different languages and be personalised. A simple exam support arrangement that eliminates the need for a human reader. Exam Pen can also be used very productively through the whole term for supporting learners' reading. It doesn't just have the extra features like dictionary and storage. Let's go back to this text reader. I'm going to press OK, which is the centre wheel, and I'm going to scan across a line of text.
Place your index finger along the top of the pen, resting comfortably.
And the pen has a camera that captures the text as it scans the words on the page. Then, as it converts the text to speech, and it instantly says it out loud to you. You can repeat the whole sentence back if you want to.
Place your index finger along the top of the pen, resting comfortably.
You can also scroll through the text using the centre wheel. Holding the highlighter over a word will enlarge it. There may be a little bit of lag in this video, but what's happening is the word is spoken and highlighted together in real time. A question I get asked a lot is, can I instantly look up a word and find that definition? Yes, you can. If I select the menu button, I can choose definition and it gives you the definition.
Finger. Finger noun. Fingers. 1. One of the long thin parts that stick out on your hand. 2. Something that is shaped like a finger. Finger verb. Fingers. Fingering. Fingered.
There are a number of different definitions that are available. This definition is from the Oxford Primary, or OPD, and it allows you to quickly understand the word that you're seeing. Another frequently asked question is, how do I read many lines of text? To do this, we go to the menu, we go to adding mode, select append or replace. If the pen is on replace, it means the screen will clear every time you finish the scan. If the pen is set to append, it always adds on to the end. With the pen selected, you can scan many lines or even a whole page and have it read back to you. There's no limit to how much you could be scanning or have it read back to you. I want to scan several lines of text, so I'm going to select Text Reader and start scanning and save this as a long stream of speech to text.
The type of text the student is wishing to be supported with reading is quite important at primary age.
And then the next line.
Therefore, if your student requires larger gaps between each line, then continue to do this.
I click to the right and it takes me back to the beginning. Now both lines flow together.
The type of text the student is wishing to be supported with reading is quite important at primary age. Therefore, if your student requires larger gaps between each line, then continue to do this.
If your student's quite confident at reading, you'd set up the pen with replace. If your student struggles a lot with reading or has low vision, you'd set up the pen for append mode. There are other settings like speed of playback. This allows you to slow down the speed of a word. You can also make playback pause between words or at sentence level. This can be helpful for learners with slower speeds of processing. It also gives the teacher greater control of how learning is taking place. Just to return to the dictionary function, there's a very nice feature in here that's in the history, and this is great if the student has a word list to learn or they're developing new vocabulary. The history feature saves your list. This is helpful for topic work, learning keywords, and for building familiarity.
Someone. Someone pronoun some person.
This can help you to keep building those connections with the words. In the dictionary settings, you can use the up and the down arrows to change the dictionaries. You can see North American and Collins Dictionary, that the Oxford Primary Dictionary gives good, clear, short definitions. If the student scans a word that's not in the OPD, it'll be in the Collins. Scan to file allows you to capture lines of text and to put them into a computer via a USB lead. The information is stored. There's no software to upload onto your computer. This is the voice recorder for you to store your audio in WAV or MP3 format. The settings. The recent addition to our pen is the introduction of the wizard. Now when you turn on the pen for the first time, the wizard will ask you, do you want to turn the talking menu on or off? This allows you to customize the pen in a way that's most helpful for you. You can select your language, select an accent, you can choose for American, Indian, English, Irish, Scottish and Australian, and finally you can select for left or right-handed use.
Thanks, Julia.
You're welcome.
So I can see we're using quite a bit of the time already. We're nearly up to 45 minutes. We're actually on 45 minutes. So I'll quickly whiz through the next slot so we have enough questions for all of you, because I know some of you would need to get back to your learning or finish for the day. So the next pen that I wanted to move on to is the exam reader. I know a lot of you have the exam reader, have been using it for examinations last year, and you might be using them again for your in-class assessments or the mini summer exams that I heard potentially going ahead. So I imagine some of you are on about the JCQ statement, so a lot of you know exactly kind of what the pen is and that you can use it in examinations without the need for a human reader or a computer reader, and no need for access arrangements. So the exam reader can be used in all across the examinations, and that's including the English reading examination. And the main difference between the exam reader is that it doesn't have any of the features on it. Doesn't have the dictionary, doesn't have the storage, and doesn't have the dictaphone on it.
It's still equally useful in class, though, Jim.
Absolutely.
If a school didn't have a reader pen and you had some pens put by and you were thinking, actually, I've got a learner who could do with support and they're not getting support, then you might want to think about repurposing those pens in the current climate, particularly.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, some of you, as Julia said, some of you may not have the reader pen, and you just have lots of exam readers. So I still feel, as Julia said, you can use the exam reader in the classroom, and they can even take it home to use from there as well, because it has all of the features and it just doesn't have the dictionary mode and the storage, but it still has all them features that it can use to access the text still. So it's still a great pen that you can use from home.
I'm thinking about all those readers, all those learners who would have had teaching assistant support, and now that's impossible because either they're learning from home or you've got the socially distanced support issue. And if you are thinking about closing the literacy gap, which we know is widening at a phenomenal pace at the moment, frightening pace, this might be a strategy that you might want to consider. My first suggestion would be buy reader pens, because that's what's going to improve comprehension and literacy. That's what will make the gains for those learners who actually need that bit of support. But when push comes to shove, I would always advocate for putting the tool into the student's hands if possible. And if it's what you've got and you can repurpose it, then great. A good idea is always to make a note of the pen serial number, put a sticky thing with the student's name on it, make sure the pen's set up for them personally, and have a home, maybe a homeschool agreement, or get parent to sign that there is a responsibility that they are looking after the pen for the school for a month or so while they're learning at home. But there are ways round the problems that you'll be thinking of.
Yes, and just kind of echoing what Julia said, I've found, speaking to schools, especially in the last couple of weeks, that they are implementing the exam pen. A lot of them have taken huge precautions as well to cover the current situation, and a lot of them are using like plastic bags, making sure the pens are clean, they're tidy, that they've got personalised to a certain student, so they're actually got their own label on there with their name on it, and they're sent out to them as well. And I know some schools have already used them for some of their mock exams this January as well. So it's been great to hear some of the stories and how they've been using the pens as well, and it'd be great to hear some of your feedback as well, guys. So the next thing we're going to do is just go into the resources very quickly. Julia spent a lot of time since she started with us here at Scanning Pens creating these resources to help people and give you them hints and tips. So just before I move on, I'll give you a couple of hints and tips, and then Julia will explain her resources and how effective and how they can help students. So you could see in the video how Julia was holding the pen. So the pen was created really that you hold the pen just like your normal writing pen or a pencil. You hold it round the bottom, around the nib of the pen. You have a nice little grip, and you let the pen rest on your hand, just like Julia's holding there. And what happens is, as you push down, the lever pushes on, and then the camera inside takes a photo. So you need to make sure that the pen is pointing around the 75-degree angle, because what it's doing is that camera is actually taking a bird's eye view of a picture of that text, and then it uses optical character recognition to then read aloud back to you. So it stores that word, that line, and then reads aloud back to you. What I also want to explain is really quickly best practice with the pen. So what you will find is when you give the pen out to students that they'll just start scanning frantically with the pen and using it for everything. Which is great for the time being, but then after half an hour, you need to go back and find out how the students are using the pen the most effective way. Because some students will find it just easy to scan the odd word or a couple of lines, and some students will find it to read chunks of text. So it really is up to the student and how they personalise in using the pen. because the pen is a fantastic tool, not only for students with reading difficulties, dyslexia, but also for them students who aren't quite that confident with their reading and they struggle with the odd couple of words. And the pen is a fantastic tool just to give you that reassurance and carry on. Because some people, like myself, I'll read and I'll skip words out really quickly because I'm reading quick. And the pen's great for if I can scan that word, listen back to it. Now, I don't quite understand it, but what I do find useful is that I can press the button as many times as I like and then hear it aloud back to me. So the pen's great to use for that. And students who may skip out them words and miss out that whole word that would make that sentence make sense. Another best practice tool. So last year when I was allowed to go around schools, was looking at students and how they were using the pen. And what I found was a lot of students were actually using a ruler, or they were using something with a straight edge to keep them in line when scanning the pen. So they'd scan along and this ruler would just give them a straight edge to follow. So they weren't moving into the line, or they were missing some of the odd words there. So that's a good tip. Another tip is to just use rubber bands around the bottom of the pen to give you a better grip as well. So that's just the best practice and hints and tips, and we do send out our hints and tips card out with this presentation and recording as well, so you can have a look at them in your own time. So what I will do now is pass you over to Julia, who will talk about some of the resources that she's created and how this can help you with your trial, or that's how this can help you with your students who are home learning and using the pen.
Okay, I'm going to do this quite quickly and encourage you to contact me, which is julia@scanningpens.org. And if you would, is that right, Jim, or have I gone wrong? Have I done dyslexia?
No, that's fine.
It's .com, isn't it, or .org?
Yeah. .com.
Thought so. I do have these moments. I am someone with dyslexia and dyscalculia battling in the world. Right. There are resources that are free that I want to put in your hands. I want to train you on how to use them. That training is free for you guys. If you get in touch with me, I can organize that session, a group session of training for you. I will go through 2 documents that I have created. The first document is called the Literacy Passport. This is how to spot the learning difficulties in a classroom, to be able to create plans, profiles, IEPs and supporting documentation, and then transition documentation. This is the product of my years as a Senko, thinking about what students need and what teachers need to be much more effective at spotting learning differences and sharing that information onwards. So for example, there's a literacy gathering information sheet, and it's just literally what we love as teachers, a tick sheet, so that you can go through and think, oh yes, I'm seeing that, I'm seeing that. That's an indicator of dyslexia. That's an indicator of developmental coordination disorders. This is an indication of perhaps attention deficit difficulties. So really helpful book that goes through explaining SPLD, what that means for teachers and what you can do to support your learners, not just with scanning pens, but with a variety of different tools, what I would call the toolbox approach to supporting literacy difficulties in the classroom. So I will talk a lot more about that. However, if you are in the business of trying to implement these pens immediately, either at home or at school, I have made a storybook called the Helping Hand Detective Agency. It is a set of, I think it's 15 comprehension activities that then have a learning activity next to them. And the learning activity goes through how to use different bits of the pen. So, for example, it just goes through how to use the Oxford Primary Dictionary, how to swap forwards and backwards to the Collins Dictionary. And you will do that by completing an activity with these little characters. They're all children who I've taught. They're archetypal children. There's a very fast squirrel who is like many of the children I've known who can't settle and concentrate. So I've tried to take the really positive qualities of those young people and turn them into a character that children will find relatable. I designed this to be supportive for students between year 5 and year 8 at a push, you could probably look at, and particularly if you've got SEN kids, year 9 probably wouldn't stretch much beyond that, and it depends on the learner. But I've tried to make the stories fairly cool with top tech and drones, and make it readable for them so that they would enjoy and relate to the characters. The important thing is that you can send this document home or encourage parents to find this document on the Scanning Pen's website under Education Resources and look for Helping Hand Detective Agency. You just put your email address in and you can download this directly. There we go. You can see the address for this document at the bottom. I've created it for free because I want you to be able to put this in the hands of students and for them to independently learn how to use the Scanning Pen. It could also be used as a series of lessons within class or by a teaching assistant who might want to be working through activities with a young person. So really that's the cook's tour, but if you would like to join me for more training about how to use these, I will be happy to provide that for you. Okay, this slide here is just telling you that if you go onto the Scanning Pen's website and look for demonstrator schools, you will be able to find how to go about getting support from me, or I'm happy for you to contact Jim or contact me directly. At the moment we are offering it free, exclusive to a select number of schools, of which you may be one, possibly.
Thanks, Julia.
You're welcome.
So we'll end the webinar there. I know we've gone over slightly what we said. Again, Julia, thank you so much for joining on this webinar today and giving your knowledge and experience to everyone. And these resources, as Julia was explaining, I think are just fantastic. I think they really help support the trial and really do help you as teachers as well and give you something to give to them students. And I do feel them helping hands, which was originally created for primary, can really stretch up to year 9 quite easily, I believe. And some of the activities that Julia's created as around using the pen really helps give you some good training on how to use the pen, and also gives you them activities as well. And what's great is Julia's made this now a PDF copy, so you can now go on our website and download that free online. Julia's popped in her email for you guys, and I'll pop my email in there as well. So if any of you are interested in trialing the reader pen, please feel free to contact me and we can give you a 30-day free trial on that. Or if you require any further training, Julia can do the further training sessions and we can get that booked in for you guys, and we'd be happy to do that for free for you guys. And if you want any stories or any advice on using the pens, I'd be happy to help in terms of encouraging the students to use them in the classroom or from home, because I know how difficult it is sometimes to get them to use it. I'll be happy to help with that as well. So if you do have any questions, please feel free to pop it into the chat. This recording will be available, so give us a day or two and we'll get the recording out to you so you can share that with staff, and anyone who couldn't attend will be sending it out to everyone. And you will have a copy of the slides and you'll have my email and Julia's email on there, so if you have any further questions. And again, guys, thank you so much for joining and spending the time listening to the training today. So please feel free to pop any questions in.
Don't forget, folks, free trials. There's a lovely comment there about only having exam pens at the moment. Like the look of reader pens. Take a trial. You can't go wrong. You can always send them back if you don't like them, but I know you will like them. Give it a whirl. Nothing to lose.
Yeah, absolutely echoing what Julia says. Do take a 30-day free trial and do pass this on to parents who can also take a 14-day trial as well. So that's worth mentioning, that parents can go onto our website where it says request trial on that link. They can actually just click on the parent trial, so they can actually get a 14-day trial and they're not tied into anything. So after the 14 days, if they decide it doesn't work for them, they can send the pen directly back to us. And again, guys, that works for schools. You get a 30-day free trial and you can trial the pen and send it back to us. And also don't forget that you can also use the exam reader as well for in classroom and for home learning as well. So the exam reader, a lot of you have already got one of them, and maybe you don't have the budget to get the reader pen, then also implement the exam reader as well. It's a great tool.
Yep, just about supporting people at the point that they need it. And while I'm thinking about it, if you have got parents who you think you might like to share this information with, the Helping Hand Detective Agency is free for anybody. It's not just for teachers. You can signpost this to parents as well. And because it is one of these self-supporting resources, as long as the parents have got a basic level of literacy and basic level of confidence, they should be able to encourage their child to crack on and do that learning from the booklet. Yeah, all good stuff. And you just need a printer, print out the pages. I am working on, you don't even know this yet, Jim, this is like my next bit of fabo info. It's that I'm working on a black and white printable, low ink printable version of the Helping Hands, because there's nothing worse as teachers than feeling like
that's exciting.
Spending. I am very excited about it. You know, all the ink that we spend. So what I want to do is have the lovely super glossy gorgeous book like available to buy in the scanning pen shop as well, should anyone want it to photocopy, but then just to be able to get the free download, so that parents who might have limited resources aren't printing out with loads of ink as well. I think as a company we are really good at thinking about the needs of teachers, the needs of parents, the needs of students, and how to support them. I am proud of that.
Got a question there for you, Julia.
Okay.
The bottom.
My thought is it's good for students with slow processing and difficulty with transferring information. Absolutely it is, because if you are somebody who is copying from one piece of paper or off the board, or trying to hold that piece of information from here to here, we know that if you are dyslexic and the person next door to you says boo, you've lost that information. It is not going to be stuck in you anymore. It will have gone. So
yeah,
really great
experience.
I know, and I'm the same. My short-term working memory is terrifying. I don't hold particularly numbers. I cannot hold them from one second to the next. If your pen can be that memory for you, that's a fantastic advantage. The slow speed of processing means that you can press play on that pen as many times as you like. So if you were sitting in examination and you were feeling a bit panicky, which I have great memories of, and you are struggling to decode because you are feeling anxious, you can slow yourself down and replay what you've scanned and listen and replay and listen. We know that they're not going to ask a human helper more than twice before they start feeling stupid and embarrassed and like they're not going to go there and do that. And there was a piece of study that was done that showed that students with a reader pen would re-listen maybe
about 10 times.
10 times. You'd never ask a human reader
3 or 4
times
and then you skip it. You just skip it because you get embarrassed.
I've been the reader. What happens is they just get embarrassed and then they don't ask you for help for the rest of the exam. It's not just that question. It's like there are so many layers of anxiety that go along with asking for help, and I think that's a big deal. And if you've got that processing difficulty, you don't want people to see or
know that's happening, really. And what's great about this at the minute for students with reading difficulties, they can actually do it from the own comfort of their own home as well, so they haven't got that embarrassment in the classroom of their other peers looking at them, because it does happen, and it's sad to see, but it just does. And it's great that they can actually sit from their own home comfort and use the pen privately by themselves and have support from their parent as well, or even in the classroom where it's very small classes. It's better for that student as well.
Well, I think the other thing is, if you've got processing difficulties, you've been asked to write a sentence and put in, I don't know, maybe it's a close activity or something like that. It's actually possible to put the reader pen into the computer, and I did mention that if wherever a cursor flashes, you can pick up and move information. So you could, if you had a paper-based close activity in front of you, for example, you could pick up the text put it into the computer, type in the appropriate word, then pick up and put in the rest of the text by using the scanning pen to scan it. So if you are a student who is going to just spend forever trying to get that information from A to B, you alleviate all that, and then what you're getting back is that student's knowledge. And instead of making your assessment and your measure of them about how quickly they can move from a paper-based to a computer-based activity, type one thing from here to here, you're actually assessing on their ability to understand and know what the appropriate answer is. And that is, for me, the bottom line with scanning pens. It enables you to move beyond assessing a learner for their ability to read or lack of it to their ability to comprehend, and that for them is a stepping stone to success, because you stop feeling inadequate and you start realizing that you have a learning difference that means you need support, not you're thick, which unfortunately we do have a lot of learners sitting in class feeling completely demoralized because they can't do a basic thing. They know the answer, but they just can't get it to you. And how wonderful that there is this piece of technology that enables them to do that. That's life-changing. I'll stop now.
Thanks, Julia. Really, it sums up my experience from school really in one. But yeah, I completely agree that we have all these types of technology really now. It's more recognised with dyslexia and other difficulties that we have, and you know, as teachers that you're supporting these students and how much they appreciate your support. So it's just fantastic. We have all of these different resources, all of this technology that we can now use to help us achieve the best grade possible and have the best time we can at secondary school. It's great. So guys, thank you ever so much for joining the webinar. If you do have any further questions, please feel free to email myself, jim@scanningpens.com, or julia@scanningpens.com for any questions.